Hey guys, welcome to Speak Audibly's 100% Me podcast. It's your host, Coach Mike T. And today we are speaking with Miss Reshma Bhojwani of the Flourish Biz Center. Now, before we jump into that interview, I want to let you know that Speak Audibly Business Partners is here for you. So whether it be mindset and belief or sustainability and scalability of your already launched business, we're here to take care of you. So if you're looking for coaching, accountability, and partners without the equity, be sure to go down into the show notes and reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you out. Now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hey guys, it's Mike here. And like I said in the introduction, I'm here with Miss Reshma Bhojwani. Reshma, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about
Good.
you?
I'm doing very well. And it's Reshma, correct?
Reshma, yes. And
Reshma.
yes. And thank you so much for having me over on your podcast. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
not a problem at all. At Speak Audibly, we love to champion women who are doing big things for sure. And you are one of those women. And before I tell your story too much, please tell the listeners, the listeners more about yourself, your business, your family.
Yes. So I am the founder of Flourish Biz Center and a money wisdom coach. I help women who are stuck in various stages of their divorce. I help them to create their financial independence, like their get out of jail emergency fund in place so that they can be financially independent, and
Mm,
then uh, they can create they like won't be afraid to leave their whatever bad marriage sooner, and then they can pursue their dreams again.
wow.
So I've gone through two bad divorces, so I know what they feeling and how they get stuck because of not having their emergency fund in place. So that's what I
Wow.
want to help with. And I'm also the author of the book Pandemic Budgeting and Finances: How to Use Piggy Banks and Stop Counting Sheep. And that's available
Yes.
on Amazon. So please check it out. And I mean, me saying it is biased, but it's a great book to give for the holidays to your friends and family.
That is awesome. And we will definitely have your book linked in the show notes below. So tell me, you're a money wisdom coach. What got you so interested into money and becoming wise about your money?
Yeah. So, um, as I mentioned, I went through two bad divorces. So my first husband it was an arranged marriage. I don't know if you're familiar with arranged marriages.
Yes, please explain it to the audience who may not know.
Yeah. So I'm originally from India, and in India, your parents basically set you up with a guy to marry, and they look it up, like in marriage bureaus on newspaper ads in the matrimonial section. They look for guys, and then they do little research on that person. But basically, this guy comes to your house with his family, and the parents are sitting outside in the living room, and they send off the girl and the guy for half an hour in the next room. And once you come out after having a half an hour conversation, you're supposed to tell your parents yes or no, I want to marry this guy or not.
Wow. Okay, see,
Yeah.
I've never heard it in that detail, in that depth.
Yeah.
So when that happens, is there like a pressure to say yes? Because I mean, is someone going to say no right in front of the person? Like, no, I don't like this person, or like, do most people say yes? Like, what's the how does that work?
Oh, no, not in front of them, but as soon
Oh,
as
okay.
they leave, then you have a family discussion. And you have, like in my case, I had my mom, my brother, my two two uncles, two aunties. They all sitting there looking at me and saying, okay, what's the verdict?
Wow.
And I happened I did say no because I didn't like him much, and I gave all sorts of reasons why I didn't like him, but none of them were good enough for my people.
Wow.
And so even after saying no, they forced me into the marriage. And
Wow.
as I was saying, like you've got like all these six adults sitting in front of you, how much, so at that time it was pressure. So
Yeah.
I just gave in and I was like, fine. And I was getting older. Usually in India, girls get married when they are between 18 and 22. They get married. Like as soon as they finish their graduation, the
Wow.
parents start getting them married. So I was already like 26 and a half. So I was already much older than the regular girls.
Wow.
So it was like, you what do you expect? You're not going to get much choice and things like that. So that's what happened to me. And then I came here. He was from the US.
Okay.
I mean, an Indian, but he was working here. So they basically shipped me off here with
Wow.
an absolute stranger. I got married like on May 9th, and May 12th, I'm here with an absolute
Wow.
stranger. Yeah. And
Wow. An
yes,
individual that you spoke to for about 30 minutes.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah. The first time I spoke to him was April 27th.
And
And
here we are, May
April
9th.
and
Oh my
May
goodness.
9th, May 12th, I'm here. And I mean, arranged marriages could go well, but mine just happened to not go well. So, and then
Wow.
he landed up being a mental abuser, which
Hmm.
my parents wouldn't have known.
Right.
So I came here, and then I left in 2 years because he was a mental abuser. And I was able to leave because I had my emergency fund in place. I had
Wow.
worked the last 6 months of my job and had saved up all that money. But had I not had that money saved up,
Right.
I would have been stuck in this horrible marriage, maybe forever.
Right, right. Wow. Wow. And I'm
Yeah,
super, that excites me to have you on the show because I know that there's going to be some ladies that listen to this and they hear of this mental abuse, right?
yeah.
This kind of attack of the mind, of your mind. And so when it comes to having that emergency fund, how did you kind of work around, your kind of abuser in this way? How'd you get that fund funded?
So, so he was a mental abuser and not a financial abuser. So he wasn't controlling my money. My
Mm,
second husband was a financial abuser, a mental abuser, and a narcissist.
wow.
Can't have a better combination.
That's wow. I'm so sorry. Tell us a little more about this financial
Yeah,
abuser.
right. So the second person was so my second husband was less mentally abusive than the first one. So like my first one was 100% and this one was 50%. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm in a better shape. I'm doing
Right.
better. And so I stuck around 12 years this time
Wow.
versus 2 years. Like the first one was not even worth it at all. So so he was like a financial abuser in the sense that he had bad money habits. He would just spend. He was a spender and I
Wow.
was a saver. And we used to live beyond our means, and he used to like take advantage of my money. And like
Mm,
when I got married to him, we bought a house. He didn't even have good credit, and we bought the house in my name, my credit. And then later we were like buying hot tubs and $5,000 beds and all things we can't afford. And
wow.
he used to think having 25,000 to $50,000 in just credit card debt alone is normal. It's like average Americans have $100,000 in debt, so we are doing much better. So why do
Wow.
I keep crying about money and things like that? So so that's how I always had a savings, and I always tried to, because I believe in saving. I don't think he even knew how to spell the word saving, but so I
Sure.
kept bringing the debts down and he kept jacking it up and I brought it down. So we did that in 12 years. I did it so many times
Mm,
that once I got divorced and I got rid of him, I got rid of my debts
that's
in
it.
less than 3 years, because we got I got stuck with $25,000 during my divorce settlement. But
Right.
because he wasn't there to jack it up, and even with half the income because I lost his income. I was able to get rid of it because I didn't have bad money spending habits.
That is
And
awesome.
yeah, and then I got rid of my debts in less than 3 years. Then I saved up my emergency fund and created my emergency fund for 3 to 6 months. Then after
Wow.
that, when you're not struggling anymore, right, not worried about
That's
paying
it.
bills or putting food on your table, so I went from surviving to thriving and not worried, and I started sleeping like a baby because I had my emergency fund, right?
Yeah.
Then you can actually start dreaming. And then I started saving money for putting 20% down to buy a rental property,
That
because
is awesome.
to start making passive income. And as we are seeing with the pandemic, the importance of having emergency money and multiple
Yes.
streams of income, because you never know what happens. A crisis is a crisis, be it divorce or
Hmm.
pandemic or the 2008 recession or unemployment. We need to be prepared for it.
That's
And
it.
that's what I've written in my book. There's a chapter on multiple streams of income. There's a chapter of how I got rid of my debt. It's basically my story
Yeah.
of how I went through from, surviving to thriving to dreaming again, and
Wow.
how I got rid of my 25,000, how I built my emergency fund, the importance of multiple streams of income, and
Wow.
also having the mindset of a millionaire. As we know, everybody wants to be a millionaire,
That's
right?
it.
So
That's it.
so
That's
there's
it.
a good chapter on that. Plus it is because the rich people have good money habits and they always live within their means.
That's
They
it.
don't buy all these shiny objects and shiny cars and designer
Right.
clothes.
Right.
Those people are rich, but they are not wealthy.
Come on. Now you're
The
preaching. Come on.
millionaires are wealthy.
That's it. Yes, ma'am. So tell me,
Yeah,
when it comes to that first husband, because you said you had an
yeah.
emergency fund even going into that first divorce and getting away from that mental abuser, what made you truly start thinking, I have to get my finances in order? Because I mean, you're only with him for 2 years and you already left with an emergency fund. And I know there's going to be women who see this show, this episode, this interview right here, and they're thinking to themselves, how do I get started? Because yes, I'm with the narcissist. Yes, I'm with the
Yes,
mental, physical, financial abuser. How do I
right.
start these steps? Because a lot of women, that's the thing that keeps them in those relationships, right? Is those finances. I don't
Yes.
know how to step outside of this. So, what made you start getting those finances in order before the divorce was settled?
Yes. So um, you always have to save first. I mean, that's the most important thing. What people do is they spend first, and then what's left at the end of the month, if there is anything
If
left,
there's right.
then they'll save it. But if you save first, and especially if you need, you want to get out, and you have to start building your get out of jail fund, and that should be your highest priority. I was
Mm,
speaking with a woman who was stuck in a bad marriage, right? And married to a financial abuser. And she told me she's already filed for divorce. Both of them have already signed the papers. And since a year, all she has to do is go for the court hearing. And for a year, she's not doing that. I was like, why are you not doing that? She's saying, because I won't be able to make that much income to live after divorce. And that's because it's just like she doesn't know, she didn't know
yeah.
how much she knows what her current financial expenses are, but that's her ex not ex her husband's living style, right? He
Right.
wants the $500,000 home and the 4 cars and a BMW. I said, is
Yeah.
this the lifestyle you want? She's like, no, I just want a commuter car. I don't care about all this. So then
Right.
I was like, then why are you stuck? What do you need day one of divorce? Day one, day 30, day 60, day 90. That's the crucial part where you
Yeah.
figure out everything else. And she was like, I need 5,000. She thinks she needs 5,000. I was like, that's what you need today. How much do you need day one? And she had no idea.
Yeah.
And we did some math and all, and then we come to know that she needs only
Wow.
$1,100.
Come on.
And I was like, you're stuck for, you need only 25% of the money and you're stuck.
Yeah.
She's like, that I can get by selling one life insurance policy. I was like, there you go,
Come on.
So that's how things are. And then another thing, the industry keeps saying, get out of debt, get out of debt. So she was focusing on, to get divorced, I need
Mm,
to get out of debt first. And that's not necessarily the first step
right.
always. It's good to do that. But when you are in this situation, you have to focus on creating your emergency fund. So
That's it.
if you have extra $200, put it towards the emergency fund. Don't worry about paying off debts. That
Yeah.
will come later when you get rid of this guy who's got all these bad money spending habits. You'll automatically get rid of your debt. So
That's it.
so I always say, like, I use money as a tool, and I always say budgeting is like it's an art and not a science.
There you go.
It doesn't restrict you. People have this bad thing about budgeting, saying it restricts you. It's not.
Right.
It in fact liberates you, and it's how you use your money. It's the combination of how you use this extra $100,
Yeah.
and what's the best strategy for it for your particular situation. Is it
That's
to
awesome.
create your fund, or pay off your debt, or your auto loan, or what is it? Is for retirement? So it depends on your situation of how to use that best. Because
That's awesome.
like 5 plus 5 is 10, 6 plus 4 is 10, 2 plus 3 plus 5
Yeah,
is 10.
exactly. Oh, yes.
but but 2 plus 3 plus question mark is not equal to 10. So if you
Right.
don't know where that extra $2, $5 is going, that's where all the problems start.
That's it.
And
That's
that's
awesome.
where you are then messing up your money, and your don't have your finances in order.
Yeah, it's all those little leaks. It's all those little leaks. But
Yes. Yes.
that's awesome. That's key. I've heard you say it a few times now. The get out of jail fund. And
Yes.
at first it hit me like, oh, why jail? But of course, when you're with a person who almost makes you feel like you're in some sort of, locked behind bars of some sort, right? Where those bars are the
Yes.
mental abuse, the financial, the emotional abuse. Those are the
Yes.
bars, and you sit within that cell. So yes, this is literally, quite literally, a get out of jail fund to help you be able
Yes.
to get away from your capture, if you
Yes.
will, right? And that is awesome.
Yes.
And the fact that you're able
Yeah.
to coach your clients in that way, especially when it comes to that budget, because like you said,
Yeah.
it is an art form. It's not necessarily a science, and that's how a lot of this thing works around life, right? And those are some of the rules to this game that a lot of people don't understand. They think there's a hard set way of doing things, and really in life there is a lot of gray area, and so there are
Yeah.
multiple ways that can really be unique to you. And that's why when it comes to, guys, Reshma being your coach, you're beginning to see why you would have someone as a coach like her, to be able to open up your mind, open up the possibilities, to really be able to see. I mean, that's what we have coaches for. And so,
Yeah.
Reshma, that is awesome. That is awesome. Now, tell me one more time, what's the name of the business center?
It's Flourish Biz Center.
Okay.
And my website, you can go to it. It's www.flourishbizcenter.com.
Awesome. And so, flourish. Why
And
why the word
you can find me
flourish?
on Facebook.
Oh, sorry.
Flourish because no, no, it's fine. Flourish is because I want everybody to flourish, right? To thrive, to flourish. So I thought that what better word than flourishing, because I want to flourish. I think everybody wants to flourish. And
Yes.
and
Wow.
that's what you can do once you're out of the survival mode.
That is awesome. I happen to love that word as well, that flourish word, because some people want to live, right? And if they don't live,
Yes.
then they must be in a survival state. But we want to be beyond survival. We want to be beyond just living. We want to thrive. We want to flourish. And so I love
Yes.
that you use that word.
Yes.
So tell me,
Uh,
when it came to,
I
go ahead.
sorry. I just wanted to say yes. My motto is not to lead life and to live life.
Mm.
Yes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So coming out of that second divorce,
Yes.
you've done this before. You have this savings account. You have this get out of jail fund. When it comes to that first step out, let's talk about that first day, because
Yes.
there's a lot of individuals. I won't even say just women at this point. There's a lot of
Yes.
individuals that outside of that relationship, especially for 12 years,
Yes.
what is the feeling that you had when it's like, you know what, I may be redefining myself, but I have this financial backing, I have this savings account? How much easier could you tell me that it was to leave a situation like that with that financial self, or that financial backing, but to be able to redefine who you are as a woman?
Yes, it's huge because when you're in this mentally abusive relation, you've totally been broken. Like your self-esteem is shattered, your self-confidence is shattered.
Mm.
And you have to, yeah. And that's when, as soon as I left that, I felt this relief in me and felt the freedom, which
Yeah.
you can't get. And uh, it it's very liberating, very absolutely liberating. And more than this, with my first husband, he when I told him about my divorce, he threw me out of home. I basically became homeless for a week because the apartment rent was in his name, the lease,
Wow.
and he was like, I don't care. The lease is in my name. You wanted the divorce, your problem. You decide what you want to do and how. Like
Wow.
I can't take the responsibility of you living in this house for another this apartment for another week. I was like, but the lease is up only after another week, and we are still married. We are not even divorced. I haven't even filed.
Wow.
But he had such a ego that he chucked me out. He's like, not my problem. But
Wow.
because I had the money and I knew I would be able to, do whatever if I have to stay in a motel for 1 week or whatever I do, because my
Yeah.
next job at that time I sort of was in between jobs also. My next job was going to start after a week, and I was in Scranton, and my next job was in Pittsburgh. So for,
Wow.
for 1 week, I literally stayed with my neighbor and then in the motels. But I was fine because I had my money, right? I knew
Wow.
I can afford the apartment or whatever, the hotel.
That's it.
And had I not had that money, I would have never been able to leave, right? So
Wow.
it gives you money as a backup, as a backing, gives you the courage to do things.
That's
Because
it.
with my first marriage, I was new to the US. So I didn't even know my way around. I didn't know how to drive. I mean, he taught me how to drive, but I'd never driven in India. And his teaching me driving was a nightmare. He used to yell and scream.
I
And
can only imagine.
I'd like, in fact, gotten this negative thing about driving, right?
Right.
Experience. So I didn't want to drive. I used to hate driving, but I had to. The day I divorced, I just had to drive, and I had to go from Scranton to Pittsburgh. And that time I was a consultant, so I had to go from Pittsburgh to Florida,
Wow.
drive 24 hours, me being a new driver, and I had to tag a U-Haul trailer behind me.
Wow.
So it's like survival of the fittest. If you just have to
Wow.
do certain things. And I'd never lived in motels before or anything on my
Mm.
own. Like 2 years into the US, I'd never even been to a grocery store, I think, alone by myself. And now I'm doing all this crazy stuff. And
Wow. That's
yeah,
so encouraging to hear. Someone who, I mean, obviously brand new to the area, to the country, right? Never driving. I mean, you said got married at 26. So here you are, 28 years old, never
yes,
really learned how to drive, but I mean, he taught you. This person who's already a mental abuser is now trying to
yes,
teach you how to do something brand
yes,
spanking new
right,
to you.
right,
And
yes,
then here we are, 12, fast forward 12 and a half years. Now you're literally driving a vehicle from Scranton to Florida with a trailer behind it. Like, that's no easy feat for someone who's been driving for years and years on that point. But here you are a decade in and you're pulling a trailer now on your own 24 hours. Like, that is impressive. And the fact that you were able to have that sort of foundation that you put together, that you've built, those tools, right? That money that you put in place. And now you're able to live off that, not only begin to live, but to pay off $25,000 in debt. And
Yeah.
your story is amazing. I feel like I can talk to you all day, but of course we don't have that kind of time. But
Yes.
your
Yes.
story is very inspirational. And whether you're a man or a woman, I hope you're hearing this and being encouraged that you can do it. But especially you ladies, if you're in a situation that you feel trapped, that you feel like you are behind those mental or emotional abuse bars, you can
Yes.
get out of jail. You can get out of that prison. All right. And Reshma is the one to help you. So, Reshma, as we begin to wrap up here, my final question to you. I love the movie The Dark Knight. It's Batman. The original one came out in the early 2000s. And at the end of that movie, Batman kind of allows himself to be framed for the death of Harvey Dent. Okay. And when the police commissioner asked him, well, why are you taking the blame for this? He basically said, you know what? The people don't need a hero right now. And at that, he turned, the police started chasing him. They had the dogs, it's dark, Batman is running, and then he just goes off the grid. He goes dark, he goes into hiding until the next movie. If you were to say, you know what, I have to go off the grid for a little while, I have to go dark, I have to leave, I have to be gone, no one's going to hear from me. If you have to do this, what is one last piece of encouragement that you would give to the people in this podcast and of the world at that moment?
So that's a tough question because I have been in the dark and I have just come out in the light
Yeah.
and I want to inspire people. But I would say put yourself first. Do not worry about what people say. Do not worry about the society. It's your life. Nobody cares. Like when I was in my unhappy marriage, nobody cared. They'll give you advice, but it's my decision, my life. If I stayed, I would struggle by myself, right? So
Right.
it's basically do what's the best for you and do not let society or fear stop
Mm.
you from dreaming and living your life.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. Don't let fear control or ruin your life. As I say, fear is the false evidence appearing real, right? Those things that cause us to be,
Yes.
whether we're in a physical imprisonment or that self imprisonment. Go ahead and kick those bars in. You can do it. Be bold, be tough. This is Reshma,
Yes.
and she is explaining to you guys exactly how she did it. This is Life Lessons with Reshma. Well, Reshma, thank you so much for, first off, being on the show, but second, for having such an amazing heart for the women who are going through these same things that you've gone through, that you haven't just become a victor in your own right and kind of went off into the caves and took your story, but you're letting it out and you're leading by example. And I want to thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, guys. So does Reshma have a story or what? And it goes even deeper. So if you're interested in even just hearing her story, be sure to reach out to her at the links in the show notes below. But also, if you are a woman and you're looking to get out of a bad situation and you're trying to make sure that you are financially set to do so, please, please, please reach out to Reshma. She's been there, she's done that, and she's a professional at making sure that she has that emergency fund set, that get out of jail fund. Yes, be sure to get out of that situation and reach out to her. Now, remember, this is Speak Audibly Business Partners. You have a voice. Let it be heard. We'll talk soon.